women, we must stand up for ourselves.
As women, we must stand up for each other. As women, we must stand up for justice for all. The women's rights movement in the United States began 167 years ago and was set to emphasize a variety of rights in which the people involved hoped to achieve for women. The movement promoted women's rights to vote and the importance of gender equality. Ultimately, after 70 years, the revolution was successful and earned women political and educational rights in the U.S. After this victory in the U.S., more countries would follow in an attempt to achieve gender equality. However, there are still several Middle Eastern countries, specifically Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, and Egypt, that are continuing to have a severe lack in women's rights today. Due to cultural and religious values, women in the Middle East are restricted from certain rights and educational opportunities. However, there have been recent attempts at expanding women's rights in order to establish justice for all women in the region. In several parts of the region, women are deprived of basic educational rights. Accessing education is difficult because for many years, traditional norms have dictated that women must remain at home. Expectations require that they take care of the children and domestic chores rather than getting an education or going to work. In Saudi Arabia alone, 85% of women are illiterate. This is one of the highest rates in the world. In Afghanistan, only 40% of girls attend elementary school, and only 5% attend school beyond 6th grade. Legally, a woman must receive permission from a male relative to go to school or work. The head of the UN Development Fund for Women's Arab State Office claims predetermined roles allegedly based on culture and the interpretation of religion are presented as undeniable facts by the state through discriminatory laws. 75% of all Arab women are unemployed. In Saudi Arabia, if both a man and woman work doing the same job, the woman will receive 77% less than what the man will. These significant wage differences, due to discrimination in the workplace, are encouraged by the religious values carried throughout the region. These values originate from the Islamic sacred book, the Quran, which states all men are a degree above women in status. Another reason why there is such a high unemployment rate for women is because of the economy. For example, in Egypt, the economy worsened and jobs were cut. Female workers specifically were left unemployed. Many Arab nations supported educating boys rather than girls because boys were perceived as a greater economic asset in the future. Traditionally, in Saudi Arabian, Egyptian, and Afghan cultures, women cannot leave their house without a male escort. In 2006, a Saudi Arabian teenage girl left her house without a male escort and was kidnapped and gang-raped by 7 men. In 2007, the court sentenced the victim to 90 lashes for violating the ban on women having contact with men who are not their relatives. When the victim's lawyer protested the sentence, the court increased her punishment to 200 lashes and a 6-year jail sentence. Saudi Arabia is the only country in the world that prevents women from driving. Intense beliefs claim female drivers undermine social values and therefore have to be driven by a male. Marriage is another source of female oppression. About half of the girls in Afghanistan are married or engaged by age 12. About 60% of girls are married by age 16. In many situations, child brides meet their husbands for the first time at their wedding. Once they are married, according to Egyptian criminal code, if a woman has been beaten by a husband with good intentions, the husband will not be punished. Saudi Arabia is one of only 2 places in the world where women still are not allowed to vote. In addition, according to Islamic law, women are only counted as half a witness in court. This is because in the Quran it states that women have deficient minds that may make them forgetful. However, there have been some recent attempts at changing gender inequality in the Middle East. At a session on strategies for building a gender-inclusive democracy in the Middle East and North Africa region, National Council for Women President Marvat Talawi touched upon the current cultural challenges to women's rights. You can't perpetually have people in the streets. They get tired. They have to earn a living, they have to eat, and they have to till their land. So in fact, movements have phases where the strategic action is actually meeting the daily needs of people. After all, that's why the movement exists. In Saudi Arabia, women organized the Women to Drive campaign that encouraged women to disregard the law and post media of themselves driving. The purpose of this campaign was to raise awareness of the issue in an attempt to force change. But it was not a major success because the women were arrested and the men ignored them. In May of 2013, more than 4,500 leaders and advocates from 149 countries met in Kuala Lumpur for the Women Deliver Conference. This conference was coined as the largest meeting of the decade focused on the health and rights of women and girls. The Arab Spring proved to be a hot topic in panels ranging from ending violence against women to the impact of web-based advocacy. Ahmed Awadal of Africa and Middle East Refugee Assistance was among the experts invited to the Women Deliver Conference. He spoke about his work with survivors of gender-based violence in Egypt. Awadallah believes that a vision for progress both globally and in Egypt will not only require media campaigns and education reform, but must also include the efforts to address how men from an early age are raised with negative attitudes, misinformation, and stereotypes about women. Adwala claims that most men feel that women's rights are a threat to their masculinity and their authority over women. But he does think that the picture is slowly changing as more male voices are joining the struggle. In the United States, gender inequality is no longer an issue. However, there is a major lack of women's rights in Middle Eastern countries such as Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Afghanistan. In conclusion, these issues derive from both traditional norms and the Quran, in which the Prophet said, "I looked at hell and saw that the majority of its inhabitants were women." While women still wish to follow and respect their religion, they deserve equal rights just like any other human being. A journey of major change begins with one small step. If you don't take the first step, who will?